Welcome to Clear Vision Wednesday. I am Claudia Mühlenweg, the founder of the Natural Clear Vision Institute. Subscribe to this channel. This is my channel where I go over everything natural vision improvement, holistic eye care, how you can take care of your eyesight, your eyes, and your vision. And today is an Ask Me Anything session. So I have the chat open and post your questions in the YouTube chat if you're here live with me, and I will go answer them. And I have prepared some questions like the ones that we get all the time on this YouTube channel. And so I want to start with those, and then I will also look at the ones that you're submitting. I already see the first question. Okay, great question, Elijah. So I will start with some generic questions that are more helpful for everybody, but then I will look at your specific one. So one question we always get, can vision really be improved naturally without glasses or surgery? The exciting news is that we are starting a longitudinal study with a PhD doctor, and we already had the first results, already 150 participants with over 1,000 measurements, and they do have improved. Now, the question is, when we talk about vision improvement, like what are we actually tracking? So another question I get all the time is like, how do I measure my vision without an eye chart? I want to say, first of all, it's really easy to print an eye chart. In fact, since COVID, we have that's what we're going to use in the study, eye chart. It's called the Arizona eye chart. There's a whole document you can download. It looks like this, and there's also a near vision test card that you can print out with different sizes. So that's the piece that you measure with this is called visual acuity. That's how sharp you see. When we refer to eyesight, that's what we mean. And that's what glasses and contacts or LASIK would kind of correct. They would kind of get you to that 20/20 line. So that's one aspect of vision. So when we talk about vision improvement, and that's what we're going to measure in the longitudinal study is visual acuity, because that's what everybody's obsessed about. But there's other aspects of vision. There is peripheral vision. What is your visual field? That is usually compromised when you have glaucoma or when you wear glasses or when you spend a lot of time on the computer. There is something called night vision. How well do you see at night? We have completely different cells in the eyes for night vision. How about binocular vision? How well are your two eyes working together to give you full depth perception? What about color vision? Right? How about your ability to focus at different distances? So there's a lot of aspects to vision. And what I would always say when it comes to tracking these things or measuring, if you don't want to print an eye chart or you don't have an eye chart for visual acuity, you can simply use any text. One for near vision, maybe you have different sizes of text in a book or something. And for distance, you can have a poster on the wall. Basically, you will, like at the starting point, you will see, I can read this text at this distance, or I can at 10 feet distance. You set your own parameter. Either you kept the distance the same, and then you just check that you can read different sizes. Like if you use this chart, how it's indicated at 10 feet. If you don't see anything at 10 feet, you put it at 5 feet. And then you basically track your progress. If you don't have an eye chart, you use anything else, and you want to be able to see it either from further away or in dimmer light. So you set your own standards, but you can check these things. Peripheral vision, you can simply check, like, where do you see something? Ideally, somebody gets behind you and waves their hands, and you can say, when do I see them for the beginning? Or you put a post-it on your wall, wave your arm, and then put a sticker there and see if you can improve that. So there's binocular vision, right? We're using tools like a Brock string. So there's a Brock string. Do you see two strings? If you don't, and you only see one, you know that you have problems. And then you do the vision improvement programs, and you will eventually see two, and they should look equally. You can also use magic eye books, those cool books that have squiggly lines and produces 3D images. So there's lots of ways how you can track your progress. One other question that I always get is, at what age can natural vision improvement still work? I found it doesn't matter. We had clients in their 90s and they could still see improvements. Obviously, the younger you are, the faster it goes and the better the results, right? But you can make improvements at any age. That's really important to know. And then the number one question also is like, how long does it take to see improvements? So obviously I would always say this depends. It depends on how long you've worn glasses, how old you are, how willing are you to kind of not wear the glasses all the time, how willing are you to do the practices, how willing are you to commit to this. We've had people see improvements in one day, and for other people it might take a few months. Also, some of the improvements might be temporary initially before they become permanent. So there's different levels of progress. It's important to have a goal, but also not put pressure on yourself. Because if you pressure yourself, guess what? You're not going to be in the relaxed state. Your vision will not be as good. And I have tons of episodes where I go into that, why being relaxed is important. So it's important to have goals and to be really clear. What do you actually want to improve? Because we can talk about improvement, but what does it mean to you? I always differentiate between measurements on the eye chart, like visual acuity. Maybe you have given up night driving, or maybe you have given up water sports or whatever. What is the thing for you that gets you excited? And when you are excited about it and you have a big why, you will do the things and you will see results. But if it's like, oh, yeah, maybe tomorrow, it's kind of not that important, or maybe you like your glasses so much that you don't really have any interest in getting out of them, then you won't see improvements, and you will never see improvements. And if you also wear your glasses all the time. So another question that I want to address that's really important is, well, if I do vision improvement, do I not need to see an eye doctor? No, you need to see your eye doctor. And especially, I recommend seeing an ophthalmologist. You want to make sure that your eyeballs are healthy, that your retina is nice, the blood vessels in there, that there is no uh, elevated intraocular pressure. You want to make sure your lens is clear. All these things, all these bits and pieces are, the vitreous is clear. There's not, like I said, too much pressure. So we want to make sure the eyes are healthy. What I usually tell them is like, and you can get your prescription measurements, just don't fill your prescription. That's what we do. We help you reduce that and make it very inexpensive as well. But you do need to see your eye doctor. It's super important. Don't be ignorant. Many eye diseases are developing silently, especially glaucoma, which can lead to blindness. You don't really know that you have glaucoma until it's often too late, or your peripheral field is already very compromised. So super important. I actually recommend all my clients to see their eye doctor regularly, up to every 6 months, depending on their age and their history and all these other factors. So I will look at some questions on YouTube now, but one last question I want to answer. So we get one question all the time. Does it help with myopia, presbyopia, cataracts, floaters, astigmatism, vitreous detachment, retinal detachment, macular degeneration, glaucoma? Yes, what I teach, because it's based on nervous system regulation, using the eyes that were designed to be used, and most importantly, working with the brain, because we see in the brain, not the eyeballs. All these things that I recommend will help with any vision condition. Okay, so that's really important to know, because like everybody thinks they have this unique condition that nobody else has, and that's not true. We've worked with so many different conditions, Fuchs dystrophy, corneal disease, and also the other question we get, what if I had LASIK or I had cataract surgery? We had people improve their vision after cataract surgery and their visual acuity declined. We had people with LASIK that were back in glasses improve their vision and get out of glasses. So it doesn't matter when you had any corrective surgeries like implants or LASIK surgery. You're not starting from ground zero, but we can still make improvements. Okay. We see in the brain, we can train the brain, and also our eyeballs are not made out of steel. They're like made out of flesh and blood and tissues, and we can definitely improve our vision with these tissues. So let me look, before I go into other questions that I have prepared, let me look at YouTube and see. So the question about how to not see halos and glare around lights, the question about that would be like, why is it from astigmatism or is it from cataracts? Those are the two most common conditions. Astigmatism is what we call a refractive error. In other words, it's like nearsighted or farsighted. It is related to how the cornea and the lens refract or bend the light to be projected on the retina. And if there is astigmatism, you have these doubling, can have halos. Halos can also happen after LASIK surgery. That's a very common side effect of LASIK. Or it could be from cataracts where you have more that kind of fuzzy glow. So all these things can be improved, but it depends on what you have and why you have these kind of halos or glare. We had people improve their cataracts from stage 3 to stage 1.5. People with early stage cataract completely reverse them. We can never promise these things, because at the end of the day, it's you doing those things. And especially with eye diseases, there's also the diet, like eating a clean diet, not eating sugar, not drinking alcohol. It's about detoxification, not taking steroids. There's so many systemic things when it comes to eye diseases, that the vision work that I do alone is not going to make a difference if you don't also get your A1C, your blood sugar balance, or other factors that are systemically impacting your eyes, or like retinal diseases. Um, so there's a question. I like to keep my glasses off in the morning. Is it better to go without glasses or with lower prescription? That's a great question, Tina. So when we want to improve our vision, we cannot wear our full strength prescription glasses. It's like, wearing a back brace all day and then expecting to strengthen your back or to have more mobility. So you need to, I always, here's what I say, just to make it simple. Anything you can do safely without glasses, do without glasses. And it doesn't mean running around in a totally blurry field, but maybe you can read without glasses, or maybe you can be on the computer without glasses, or maybe you can go on a hike without glasses, and you need them only for certain distances because glasses are correcting you for specific distances. So if you need reading glasses to read small print, you might not need glasses. Maybe you don't need glasses for driving. That is obviously a safety issue, but maybe you don't need glasses for looking far or doing a beach walk or those kind of things. So only wear them when you don't, when you really need them. And then also we work on reducing the strength of your glasses. A prime example that I always give is what I usually do with my clients is we reduce glasses for computer use because a lot of people are spending a lot of time on the computer. And if you're nearsighted, you should never, ever wear your distance prescription on the computer, especially if you spend any amount of time looking at the screen at about 2 feet distance, 60 centimeters. You need to have about a diopter less in your glasses or contacts than you do for distance vision. So that's number one, because you're overcorrected and it's a huge strain for the eyes. So we really have to know when it comes to those things, what is your lifestyle? What do you need glasses for? And then we reduce very specifically for those distances and tasks and do anything. So it's a combination, Tina. The short answer, it's a combination. I would say not doing things with glasses is best, but if you're very nearsighted, for instance, and it's all fuzzy and blurry and you can't see anything, your brain will kind of check out, and that's not helpful. So we don't want that. We don't want to have everything so blurry. We need to have enough clarity for the brain to be interested in looking at things and also noticing what you're seeing and not, you know, it's almost like zoning out if everything is blurry. Um, how does a medical student who is studying 4 hours a day needing to look? Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay. First of all, great question. Welcome to medical students. But yeah, I don't ever say heal your eyesight because it's different. Healing, first of all, I'm not a doctor, so I would never say healing, prescribing, diagnosing, treating any of these things. So I'm an educator, I'm a teacher, I'm a coach. I help my people understand their vision better and then take proactive steps based on what they need to do and then work together with the eye doctor to get results. So screens are not the bad thing. And that's one of the questions I had prepared as well. So screens per se are not definitely not as great as printed materials because most digital devices, I think Kindles are different. The remarkable that tablet, those things that are more imitating paper that are not backlit, like a computer or a phone is, for instance, they are easy on the eyes than a backlit screen. Because right now, right, we see each other like 3D almost, but really it's a flat screen, it's a fake 3D, and it's straining the visual system more because we don't really have a direct sense of the distance like we have with a physical book or something like that. That said, you can improve your vision when you're working on screens. One thing is just blinking more. Studies have found that people do not blink much when they look at screens. So blinking more, looking away. The optometrists like to talk about the 20-20-20 rule. I'm not a fan of that, but I like the concept. The concept is that every 20 minutes, you look far into the distance, 20 feet away for 20 seconds. I am more a practical person. I think nobody sets a timer for 20 minutes, 20 seconds, and then knows where 20 feet is. I always say, if you're a medical student, you have to work in the library, you probably don't have the luxury. But if you can place your computer at a window so it's easy to look up and look far, like frequently, so have good peripheral vision. When you work with computers, make sure you have some light on the side so you're not in that tunnel vision. If you can read without glasses, then do that 100%. Many people I help when they have a little bit brighter light. So initially in the vision improvement journey, I prefer brighter light and versus if you can then do something without glasses And then later on, we improve our vision in dimmer light. But versus putting stronger glasses on and sitting there in dim light, for instance. So those would all be tips: blinking more, opening up your peripheral field, looking far frequently by setting up your environment for success. Um, and then sometimes quick little breaks, right? Maybe sometimes you make up a reason you need to go to the bathroom, or there's probably no printer, but sometimes when I used to work in an office a long time ago, I would just find reasons, to get up from the desk and look away. Sometimes just walking and saying hi, hello to such a colleague or something. So those are all things. I've actually did a 3-day event 2 years ago in fall, and we spent 28 hours looking at screens, and everybody improved their vision. So it's possible. Lots of movement. There's all kinds of techniques that I'm teaching in my programs. Um, do I have to do all the exercises prescribed? Okay, that's a great. Okay, you already have my computer program. Great. No, here's the thing. It's not about doing everything all day long. I usually put together things into a little clear morning ritual. What we want is changing our habits. One of the habits is staring, like looking at screens without blinking, which is a huge strain. Like you can all do that right now. Don't blink and just stare at the screen really hard, like really hard. And you will see that it feels like a strain, right? So close the eyes and then focus on blinking. Remind yourself, I used to put stickers on my computer, like blink, 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 blink. Those are all things. And then other techniques that you learn in there, be aware of the blue light. If you are struggling with sleep issues, where are the blue light blockers? If you're working on screens or you're indoor in an environment where there's lots of blue light, those are all things that can help. Some of the things that are usually an issue with screens, we have lack of movement. So having lots of movement, you get a printable shifter in that program. That's like a striped little thing that you can use to wake up your eyes. Maybe pick one of the things that you do and then alternate. And then rest your eyes. Do some palming that I teach you that in there. Every time your eyes feel strained, close them or do some palming. So I would alternate it and also notice what works for you, like what helps you relax, right? I would never say do all these things. It's really, and eventually over time, you will have better habits. Initially, you need to practice these things, but then they become automatic. So that's really my goal, that you kind of like undo the bad habits that you have, like staring or maybe not looking at your peripheral field. Periphery can be improved by you put the center patch on, but you can also, have things in your environment that are moving. If you have a second screen, you might be putting a little, sometimes I put on a YouTube video and it's no sound and I just like really small in the corner of my other screen or even on my computer screen, but there's movement, so it stimulates your peripheral field. So there's all kinds of things you can do from that program, and I would use whatever you feel that day. Maybe plan every day. You say, today I want to do this, and then you do that. And then the next day you do that. Um, let's see. I'm 48 years old and I wear glasses, and I've been doing eye exercises since I was a teenager because I knew people in their 50s and 60s who were doing them. So I know the program works. That's great to hear. I don't do so much eye exercises. Like, there's yoga for the eyes where you do like moving in and out, and then there's, rolling your eyes in a circle. I have some of these things in my programs. They help, definitely stretch the muscles. It's kind of really nice, but my goal is to help people teach how people with perfect vision see, because it's an effortless way to see and receive information in the brain. So we train the brain, we have good vision habits, and the combination of those things, that's my goal, to help you see clearly without doing eye exercises. Because eye exercises themselves, just moving your eyes to the side, that doesn't teach you how you actually see. So if I see something on the side, I don't want to do that. I want to turn my head around and look at it. And then also getting out of glasses. So those are all important things. Let's see. Should one wear eyeglasses in a lower prescription, or should um, lower prescription is definitely recommended for sure. But again, and you can order glasses yourself if you know what you're doing. You don't have to, buy expensive glasses. But it's really important to know what you're doing. So that's why I'm saying usually the computer distance, if you cannot see with computer without glasses, is usually a great place to start reducing glasses. But you know that you need number one that I always say is like get out of progressive glasses, those multifocal lenses, because they cause all kinds of habitual weird things. If you ever see people on the Zoom meeting and they have their chin up, they use these multifocal lenses. And the weird movement of your head and your eyes is actually correlated to a functional astigmatism, and we don't want that. So we want to make sure that we're always looking straight ahead. And so that's why I get all my clients out of progressive glasses, and it also saves a lot of money. Let's see. My mother is 83. Oh, I skipped a question. Sorry. Are there any natural remedies for macular puckering, also red light therapy? So yeah, one product that I like, I'm taking that myself, is called Carbon 60. The brand is C60 Power. I like that brand. It's a very, very powerful anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, high oxidant level. Yeah, antioxidant, sorry. It's and the founder actually reverses AMD with that, but we can't make any claims. It just works on the whole body to help you. It's kind of pricey because it's expensive to make. I've been taking that overall and it just helps me, like, basically it beats inflammation in the whole body. So that can be helpful. Also eating a really good diet, getting all that lutein and zeaxanthin into your eyes, the dark leafy greens, getting the omega-3 fatty acids, those are all really important. And if you don't get enough in your diet, then supplementation, you can work with a functional medicine practitioner, maybe do an omega-3 fatty acid blood test to see if you're low or if you're high levels. Those are all really important in terms of, and then red light therapy. So we have infrared and near infrared and red light and the natural light. So we don't need to buy devices. And I'm a big fan of getting sunlight into your eyes, especially in the morning, the first hour after sunrise, the last hour after sunset. We get a lot of these beautiful warmer red tones in the natural light. And even if it's overcast, it's not as strong when it's overcast, but it still benefits. And yeah, you can also use red light devices. I have an infrared sauna. I use that more for heat, to be honest. I don't use that really for the eyes, but again, a lot of these things are free. You don't have to invest into all these devices, but it can help. It's about the mitochondria and the retinal cells that get rejuvenated with red light therapy, and especially in older adults. And the retina needs more energy than any other cell in the body. So it's a super powerhouse of energy, and the mitochondria, the ATP production goes down as we get older. So that's why that can be helpful. And you can also, there are supplements for mitochondrial support. I don't really have any recommendations. I also don't really know if they've been tested to really work, to be honest, but I've seen lots of products out there for mitochondrial support. So you can maybe work with your eye doctor or your functional medicine practitioner and see if they would recommend something. Okay, so now to the question. My mother is 83 and has issues seeing cloudy when outside. When outside it's cloudy since she has had cataract surgery. Okay, so that is interesting. So she's seeing cloudy after the cataract surgery. I'm wondering if there's a secondary cataract, or is there anything in the retina? When the light is bright outside, her vision is better. Um, Here's the thing, we've seen improvements with so many conditions. I always ask people this too, if you're like, I don't know if I should do this. What is your other option? Your other option is to do nothing, to pay a lot of money for stronger and stronger glasses, and really your vision will go downhill. And then it will just be, that's just normal. Everybody in their 60s has cataracts, everybody in their 70s gets glaucoma, everybody in their 80s has AMD. So I would say doing those things is really, really helpful. But also, we have to be, Cheryl, my mom had cataract surgery, and she needs really strong glasses. She said her readers are too strong. It's too weak. She can't read the small print anymore. So I did a quick test for the Amsler grid. It's a test. I can put that in the chat. Amsler grid. You can just put it into the search bar, and it's a simple test for macular issues. It's not obviously comprehensive. The most important thing is to get an OCT scan at the eye doctor. That will show you how the macula and how the optic disc and all that looks like. But it seems like I don't know, something seems wrong with her cornea also. I don't know. Obviously, think of the eyeball. We have our eyeball here, and the light has to come through. Basically, let me just see, make sure I see it in the frame. Okay, so the light has to come through the cornea. It's clear, right? Then the iris, then it has to go through the lens. That's where the cataracts happen in the lens. And then it has to travel through the vitreous humor, this kind of gel-like body that kind of holds our eyeball in place. It's like a gel-like structure, all the way to hit the retina. So if any of these pieces are, not naturally clear, if the crystalline lens is affected and obviously that cataract surgery, then the light will not, properly be received. So brighter light usually helps with refractive errors. In other words, brighter light helps you make the contrast higher and see things more clearly. So I'm not sure. I would also see if she has had an eye exam recently and what they found. That would be my number one question. I also know that our mothers might not always be interested in what we have to say, just as the same with the children. Speaking from experience, um, Elijah says, I don't have astigmatism or cataracts. I think the halos and glare might be from dry eyes. That can also be, it can definitely be from dry eyes. Um, if you like it's really good. I want you guys to see an eye doctor and really know exactly what's going on. I personally prefer ophthalmologists just because they're more interested in your eye health. That's what we want to check. And they're not as interested in giving you a lens prescription. They will give you one, they will write it down, but they're not as interested because that's not their business, selling you glasses and contacts. There's also behavioral optometrists and neuro optometrists that are also more interested in the functional seeing versus getting you just into corrective lenses, which really, in the end, make your vision worse over the long term. Let's see. For the last 6 months, I was doing exercise every morning for about 20 minutes according to your 6-month program. My vision, okay. So here's the thing. For those that have not improvements, you might also put your too much pressure on yourself in terms of not seeing well. I don't know your backstory, if you wear glasses or if you didn't wear glasses. It's not I don't do any vision exercises whatsoever. I just use my eyes well all day long, right? In the beginning, we have to practice a little bit more. I sometimes do body work because I notice I'm getting tense in the body. I also have to check my blood levels of certain nutrients to make sure that I get enough nutrients, that I don't have, I just, check for heavy metals. Like all these factors will have an impact. And then your daily habits. Are you getting sunlight? Are you going outside? How much time are you spending just looking at screens versus moving your eyes around, looking far and near? There's so many things versus just eye exercise. And again, I don't even teach eye exercises. So, um, but yeah, that's my goal would be to have you see improvements. And also, sometimes people also don't track really properly. So it's a good use if you do want to, if visual acuity, how sharp you see is your number one goal, you have to use an eye chart and check your vision. If it's more about able to drive at night or have your eyes work better together, then using things like the Brock string or using like the string or using other techniques to check that your two-eyed vision is getting better is important, right? So we have different ways of noticing because sometimes we don't really pay attention. So I'm assuming you did check all these things and you tracked, and I don't know what your protocol was that you were doing. Anyway, so that's a question I also want to answer. Who can see improvements? It's that fine line of being committed to your vision, but also not being super rigid and stressing yourself out. And what are you doing the rest of the day? If you are in a high stress environment and you are not breathing right, you are not doing all the good natural clear vision habits, then the few minutes of vision exercise in the morning will not really make a big difference. Um, okay. Okay, Tina said she improved her vision by a half diopter. Great. Well, that's the other thing, the regressing. Let's talk about that. I had a whole episode about that. So, just like with all our other health, like we have an ideal weight and then we gain some weight. We are able to do handstands. I didn't do them in COVID times, and now I'm working my way back to doing handstands. So we lose some ability over time because it doesn't matter what it is. So maybe it's gaining some weight, maybe it's our blood pressure is going up a little bit, or we have more tension in the body, or things, you were going great for a while and then, we had more stress, whatever it was. And, losing strength also as you get older, like your bone health, all these things. Um, I don't think it's so much regressing, it's the up and down of life, which is like that, but also recognizing, hey, I love that you recognize this. I'm noticing my vision is getting a little worse again. I always call that the engine light, right? That's the engine light coming on. So it's like, okay, like like, what am I doing? Like, what's going on in my life? Why is my vision getting worse? Do I have more stress? Whatever it is, are there people in my life that are toxic, that are impacting my ability to feel good? Like, once I call the strains and gains, once you get like more aware of, have I spent more time on the computer? Did I do a lot of tasks that I hate to do? Or once you get more clear, you can also, that's the first part of improving again, right? Sometimes it's literally, doing the tasks that you're doing or being around people that are not good for you, that can affect your whole nervous system and your vision. Um, okay, so yeah, constant habits, exactly, Elijah. That's what it is. It's about constant habit throughout the day. But also recognizing that our stress levels change and that, when my chiropractor always called this my grin face. I spoke at several conferences. I'm on here. I get very tense jaw, and he had to really work on it this weekend. I was really tight. And it's because when I'm smiling a lot, right, there's this tension. And sometimes I usually track every morning, obviously tension in your jaw, and it can lead to headaches, and then it can lead to orbital compression. It can lead to blurry vision. So I'm very aware of my tendency to get a tight jaw. But if I'm not around people, I don't need to smile, and then I don't have that problem. So I'm like, okay, I love smiling. I love doing this stuff, but I have to be very mindful and maybe do some jaw work after the session. So does that make sense? So I'm more aware of what causes these things and then be proactive about it. And then, yes, use good habits throughout the day. Um, Great question about the sun. So at sunrise and sunset, do you look directly into the sun? Um, I sometimes do, but I blink a lot and I don't do it for very long, maybe like 10, 20 seconds. And then I always do palming afterwards. Um, you don't need to look directly at the sun. And at sunrise, it depends on if you're high up in the mountains or at sea level. It's definitely safe to do that, especially if you blink a lot. I never stare into the sun. There's also something called sun gazing where you don't blink. I blink a lot and then I always close my eyes afterwards. But generally speaking, I don't look into the sun. But you can. There's also something called strobing where you close your eyes or you have them open and you move your hands a lot around. It's almost, yeah, it's a strobing effect. And that actually stimulates your saccadic eye movements. And that's really helpful to do for eye movement, for reducing um, light sensitivity. One of the things I talk a lot about is night. Like I had problems driving at night, and so do many of my clients. And a lot of times there is this light sensitivity. So I used to wear sunglasses all the time. Of course, if I'm in snow or if it's really bright, I wear sunglasses. I'm at the ocean if it's extreme. But otherwise, in my day-to-day life, I don't need sunglasses anymore. But I was so light sensitive. So, of course, then you wear the sunglasses all the time. Your pupils dilate a little bit behind the sunglasses, and you never train your pupillary reaction time. And when you are stressed, your pupils dilate a little bit. And so you might get more light into the eyes than intended. So I had to understand all these connections, reduce my light sensitivity by wearing sunglasses less and less, wearing a hat instead. And that really helped my night driving because the night driving in the countryside was not a problem. Like when it was, dark, you usually use the high beams of the car because our human eyes don't see that well at night without, if there's a small moon, like a new moon, and you drive the speed of a car versus walking, right? Our humans were not designed to see at night with no light at 50 miles or 60 miles per hour. So you need the lights, the headlights of the car, if you're in the countryside, the high beams to see if there's a curve coming. But overall, that was never my problem. My problem was the city with all these bright headlights and these SUVs and shining into my eyes. And I couldn't react, my pupillary reaction was sluggish because I wore sunglasses all the time. And then when I stopped wearing them, now night driving is not at all a problem for me in the city. Like it doesn't even bother me if those bright headlights shine into my car. So let's see, what else do we have? A visual snow syndrome. I don't think, I mean, at least I don't know that any of my clients had that. It's definitely important to talk to a neuro-ophthalmologist, make sure there's nothing else going on. But I would say that I used to have a lot of that when I was younger. It was related to my migraines and my overall physical tension. So I would say the relaxation, the nervous system regulation, and practicing the good vision habits will help with that. We had many, many people that had ocular migraines, the ones without pain. People with painful migraines, completely eliminate them with my programs. So I always think give it a try, and I would say you might actually get rid of that, but I have no exact experience with visual snow myself. Um, Sometimes, we see like these ocular migraines where you see things on the sides, or you have these weird circles or colors. And that I used to have that, and I haven't had that in basically 20 years, ever since I really learned more about this and started teaching this. But I used to have this a lot when I was younger, and as well as headaches and migraines. Um, so is it still beneficial to do things like magic eye books and Brock string, even though the eyes work well together? And myopia is the only problem. Yeah, it is. Actually, there's a technique that I learned from my dear friend, behavioral optometrist Ray Gottlieb. I have to drag my little things out of my drawer. He calls it chopstick fusion. So chopstick fusion, where's my other chopstick? Um, I can only find one. Actually, I have two, but they're not. So these are different chopsticks. They're not the same, but ideally you want the same. And so with chopsticks, or you can fusion circles, these are different tools that you can use to improve your converging, diverging, and skills. So magic eye books usually do something called diverging, where you kind of soften your gaze and you look beyond the page to see the 3D image. But we also need converging, which is like crossing your eyes to look up close. And there's things like the fusion eye circles that you can use. These are ones that I bought from an optometry store. They're really dirty, I just realized. But you want to be able to converge in C3 and diverge in C3 and like really quickly back and forth. So it's like far, near, far, near. So you want to really keep your vision, your accommodation of between converging and diverging really quick versus just learning one or the other. So magic eye books are great for that, but you also want to. So Ray invented this kind of thing that he called this chopstick fusion. So you have two chopsticks, and just like with the fusion circles, you diverge, you look in the distance, and you make three. I see three right now. I obviously can't show you how this looks like. And then the middle one, depending on where you focus in the distance, like right now I'm just looking at my screen, so it's not very far. But if I were to focus this further away, eventually the middle stick when you relax grows really long. It's almost like Pinocchio's nose. So it makes this more 3D than a regular diverging practice with fusion circles or magic eye books. And so that's why chopstick fusion is, especially for myopia, really, really helpful to do. But the Brock string is also good. And I like the Brock string with beads. So I have a little Brock string here with beads. So let me put them together. So because one thing that I often, when you do the Brock string, you know that the bead that you're looking at, you only see one, and every other one you see two of. And then a lot of times people would say, I'm looking at the blue bead, but I see two blue beads. And I'm like, you're not looking at the blue bead then. You're looking in front of it or behind it. So the Brock string is a great tool to also target practice, like are my eyes actually focusing on the right thing, right? In my programs I do a lot of techniques where you close your eyes and from memory open your eyes to the blue bead, and then are you shooting beyond, are you shooting too close? So really practicing your focusing skills is Brockstrom is great for that. um, so yeah, I would say for me personally, diverging was always harder because I have a convergent squint since I was 3 years old, or as a kid, as a baby, really. And so for me, diverging is always the thing I have to practice a little bit more. And I know with some of the magic eye books where some images are easy and others, it takes me a little bit longer. I can do it, but it's not as fast. So that's something that I then, but I don't do that every day. I maybe do that every month. It also should be fun, make it fun. A question that nobody asked today, but that I get a lot, what children? I want to help my grandchild, my daughter, my son. With children, everything is a game. Okay, so you make games. You make up games. If you palm their eyes, if they're little, you can cover their eyes and tell them bedtime stories. If you work with a little bit older child, like 8 to 10 or something, you can both cover your eyes. And let's say the child looks at you, you kind of switch, the second the other one opens the eyes, you have to cover your own eyes. So you can kind of make it a fun game. Um, so many things in children's stores, so many tools, so many things you can use for vision improvement, but it has to be a game. It has to be a game. And beanbag throws and catching are really great for binocular vision too. And it's not about losing or it's not about a game that you win. It's really about fun. So throwing and catching a beanbag, and then you can occlude one eye where you have no depth perception. So that really helps you hone in your hand-eye coordination. But with children, everything has to be a game. Like you can't just tell them, hey, Johnny, sit in the corner and do some palming, you know? Let's see what else. I went to the eye doctor because I recently saw black stringy things. That sounds like floaters. Yeah, okay. And that is a normal when aging, getting older, and we lose collagen. He said there's nothing we can do. Okay, so okay, floaters are definitely a part of aging. So I usually don't say that as you when you know me, but here's the thing. I have more wrinkles than I had in my 20s, unfortunately, believe it or not. Our tissues do change over time. And the vitreous humor is like this gel in the back of the eyes where we have the floaters. And it tends to liquefy a little bit as we get older. Sometimes it pulls away a little bit from the retina. That's known as PVD, post-vitreous detachment. So with these things, I actually have a thing floating in my one eye. So there is things that is bromelain. It's the enzymes in pineapple that was tested in one study in Taiwan, where they said the people that ate the pineapple, and most of it's unfortunately in the stem of the pineapple, the stringy part that we don't really usually eat. But people that ate like one or two slices of pineapple every day had a reduction in their floaters. But I asked an ophthalmologist about the study, and she said, well, they didn't. This was just self-reported. So because they can't really see them in the eye exam, she told me they can't really see the floaters, so it's more your self-reported difference. I notice relaxation, like with everything, helps the floaters. Stress reduction. Some people take hyaluronic acid. I can never pronounce that right. So that can be helpful, some of the supplements. So you can try bromelain or this hyaluronic acid and see if that makes a difference, stress reduction overall. But those are the things that I think there is some kind of laser treatment in it really advanced cases when people have so many floaters, they can't really see clearly. The other thing I do want to bring up, there's a whole episode you can search on my channel. I had a Dr. Jane Dabu. She's a functional medicine doctor and trained in traditional Chinese medicine. And she talked about I think it was the kidney or the liver connection. So floaters are also a sign, liver and the eyes are connected. So that could also be from toxic exposure. Like I did a test the other day and I had pretty heavy metals despite doing all the detox protocols. So it's like, it's almost impossible in this world today not to be exposed to some kind of toxins, even if you clean up your whole household. You don't have any products with fragrance. You don't have any of the stuff in your house. You don't take any painkillers, steroids, none of the stuff. It feels like, the personal care, you have none of these toxic products. You go outside, there's so much stuff around us. So we can do our best. Floaters are annoying, but they're also really more harmless than I would say other vision conditions. So do the things I recommend, relaxation. I usually don't even notice I have any, and they're very mild, and I really only notice them when I look at a white wall or blue sky or something. But other than that, I usually don't even realize I have floaters. And they come and go also. They're not always there. I think when I'm more relaxed. So, but I know that it's not the answer you wanted to hear, but systemic health is always the number one thing we need to do. Eye doctors always like to say our eyes are the window to our health. And so anything that is, smoking, junk food, sugar, alcohol, like all these things that we ingest that we do over many, many, many decades will eventually show up in the body. And so that's why daily movement, lymph drainage, right? We had Kelly Kennedy on talking about how important it is to drain the lymph, make sure the lymph flows, start with above the clavicles, the collarbones to drain the lymph. So that's really important. Blood flow to the brain, reducing tension in the neck. We have to work holistically on these vision things. That's the one thing eye doctors don't really usually do, with a few exceptions. I actually found out that ophthalmology was the first ever single organ medical specialty. Before ophthalmology, all doctors would look at the whole body. Like there was no specialty in terms of I'm just looking at your feet or your eyes. And so ophthalmology started that whole specialization. And now within ophthalmology, there's retinal specialist, glaucoma specialist, there is corneal specialist. It's insane. It's insane. And sometimes it's really good to have that specialist to get a really high level opinion of somebody who really knows, but they usually don't look at the gut health or the detox, the toxic, like they don't look at those things. And that's why it's important to work together with a functional medicine doctor and an ophthalmologist. So unless you have an ophthalmologist like Dr. Rani Barnick or Dr. Radka Toms, who are also trained in functional medicine and understand the bigger picture, but most eye doctors do not. Um, Renata says, I have a minor astigmatism, do not wear glasses, presbyopia. Okay. So astigmatism, I don't know if yours is related to the functional astigmatism. So Dr. Elliot Forrest did all this research connecting about 85% of all astigmatism to a correlation of your head movements, your eye movements, and your head posture. And if you habitually do certain things, he found a correlation to the strength of the cylinder, the astigmatism in diopters, as well as the axis, like the angle of your astigmatism. Astigmatism is also a little bit connected to this multitasking, ADD, jumping around between tasks, um, mindset or mental. I definitely have that. I notice when I'm in that kind of like, I have to do all these things mode. And then sometimes for a moment I see things double and then I relax and like, okay, let's write it down. What do I have to do now? And then usually for me, things clear away. But you also can do like the eye, that's where the eye exercises can also help with astigmatism to, relax all the extraocular muscles. And presbyopia is also letting things come close to us. So letting things up close, maybe doing things you like to do as a child. A lot of times I have people do coloring or other things up close to relax their visual system to the near distance, or something like reading between the lines, which is the technique in my programs. You cannot avoid looking up close. If you always push things away, then that's part of presbyopia. Yeah, so your eyesight can improve. You don't have to do the astigmatism. The astigmatism, the Tibetan wheel is one of them, those eye exercises. Usually when I learned all this stuff, I had so much tension. I couldn't like look up. It was painful, like crazy painful. So that is a sign that I don't have any eyeball with muscles on them. But that's a sign that some of your extraocular muscles are too tight, or maybe even your eyelid muscles. So we want to make sure that it doesn't matter where you look, that there's no tension in the eyes. And that's for the muscle part of the eyes. And if none of these movements like hurt or feel strained, then I don't think it's useful at all to do the eye exercises like the Tibetan wheel, like the ones where you roll your eyes in different directions, unless you love doing them. And that's just a funny way or a way for you to do stuff for your eyes. If that's the way, we always talk about tiny habits. Andrea Spiros was in my program. She's the lead head coach of the Tiny Habits method. It's Stanford, tested by BJ Fogg, who runs the design lab, behavioral design lab at Stanford. So Tiny Habits is basically the concept of attaching things that you like to tiny habits. So maybe if you like to do the eye rolls, like the yoga clock or something, and every morning you brush your teeth, and maybe that's actually tricky brushing your teeth while you do that, but anything that you can, for sure, you get out of bed every morning, you can say, when my feet touch the ground, I do one round like this way with my eye rolls, and then I do one round the other way, right? So that's a way, and then you're like, oh, that feels good. Now I want to do like yawning and stretching and like some of the other things that, Claudia recommends. So building things, I started doing little things like when I'm brushing my teeth, I'm doing squats, or just doing something with something that you're already doing that's kind of mind that you don't need to pay that much attention to. I have an electric toothbrush. It tells you after 30 seconds to go to the next row of teeth, or the inner and the outer. So I don't have to worry about like paying attention how much I'm brushing this part of the teeth. Hopefully that's been helpful, you guys. We have to come to a close. I still have a little bit extra time with my Clear Vision Club members. Backstage access where we go over some more personal questions. But the reality is that you have a lot of impact on your vision, and please see your ophthalmologist, get your eyes checked. Don't be avoidant of that, but just don't get the full strength prescriptions. Most people are very stressed at the eye exam, so their vision will show up worse, the visual acuity as it really is. And then when they get their new glasses and they feel too strong, the eye doctor usually says, don't worry, you get used to them, but you don't want to get used to glasses that are too strong. And also, if you do need glasses, really only wear them for the distances where you need them and wear the single distance strength for that particular distance. Really, really important. Last thing I want to say, the only time where I feel bifocals can be helpful are things like driving, where we know we always look straight. When we look straight, we always look far away in the distance. And when we look down, we look at something up close. But in real life, that's not the case. You go on a hike, you walk down a flight of stairs, you look down, that's not reading distance. Or you look at the computer, which is straight ahead, but it's not far away. So people do these weird head movements. So progressive glasses is something I definitely don't recommend. And even my cousin, who's an eye doctor, doesn't recommend them. So we want to not wear those except for like I said, driving. If you cannot see the distance, or clear, if you cannot see the dashboard clearly with your distance prescription, then in that case, that might be a safer option for you to wear them for driving and then for driving only. Um, what causes dizziness when looking hard left, right when trying to stimulate vagus nerve? Well, I don't know exactly what's the scenario, but obviously all these eye muscles are connected to different nerves in the nervous system. Um, I wouldn't know exactly what that would be causing. Um, Usually, if it's an extreme, we are usually not really doing these. That's like not normal to move your eyes that far to the side. So, not sure. And also, is that the right way to stimulate the vagus nerve? I don't think. Maybe it is. I'm not aware of that. Vagus nerve is usually with relaxation. A lot of the vision techniques are helping you kind of calm down your nervous system through the vagus nerve. One of the things is singing, humming, like touching your ears. The ears are connected, the eyes are connected. So I'm not sure about the eye side movements, to be honest. So, but that's a great observation, and maybe do it a few times and notice if that changes over time, if you're just not used to that. Obviously, it's also connected to the vestibular system. There's so many pieces that are with our sensory organs. All right, you guys, this was wonderful. Please, and oh, one last thing, I have a free masterclass coming up on December 27th. So for all of you let me see, I need to find the link. Let me find the link. It's also on my YouTube. It's on my channel in the description, but I put it in the chat as well. It's a free masterclass. Please join us December 27th at 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern. That's the time between the Christmas or the holidays and New Year's where we kind of all don't have much going on. So I want to make sure that I give you some value in that class. So thank you so much, YouTube, for being here. And I will have some extra time with my Clear Vision Club, folks. All right. Let me turn off the YouTube live. So let's see, where's the live stream? Okay. Bye, YouTube, and Happy New Year. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Enjoy the rest of your year. And let's start 26 really strong and fresh. And before that, I hope to see you on my free masterclass.